welcome to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio for 90 minutes of Monday Night Football at King Power Stadium. Aston Villa are tonight's opponents and the Foxes are looking to do the league double over the Villains.
Johnny Evans, what a header!
It's Leicester City against Aston Villa and you can hear it all right here on Matchday Live.
It's Vardy! Saved by Kasper Schmeichel. Oh, what an absolute cracker from Harvey Barnes!
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
And there are two changes for Leicester City following the FA Cup victory here against Birmingham City during the midweek last week. James Justin starts for what will be his first Premier League action of 2020. He replaces the injured Ben Chilwell. Harvey Barnes is back in the starting 11. He's in for Damari Gray. Kasper Schmeichel starts his 200th Premier League appearance. The back four, Ricardo, Johnny Evans, Paglar Soyuncu and James Justin. Wilfred Ndidi sitting in front of the back four. Ahead of him, former Villa Mark Albrighton, Dennis Pratt, James Maddison and Harvey Barnes. Kelechi Iheanacho up front. Jamie Vardy is past fit. He is amongst the substitutes for the Foxes alongside Danny Ward, Wes Morgan, Yuri Tillemans, Jose Perez, Papi Mendy and Christian Fuchs. Aston Villa back in action following their League Cup final defeat to Manchester City. Two changes for them. Oyan Nyland, the goalkeeper, is replaced by Pepe Reina and Conor Hourihane comes in for Anwar El Ghazi. Looks as though Villa will stick to the back four that took the field at Wembley. Pepe Reina in goal, the back four, Frederick Gilbert, Bjorn Engels, Tyrone Mings and Matt Targett. In midfield, Conor Hourihane is drawn by Douglas Luiz and Marvellous Makamba. Then it's Jack Grealish, Mbana Samata and Ahmed Al-Mohammadi as a front three. Oilen Nyland, Neil Taylor, Danny Drinkwater, Ezri Konza, Trezeguet, Anwar El Ghazi and Keenan Davis are the Aston Villa substitutes.
Thank you very much, John. Yes, hello and welcome to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio with me, your host, Dan Bates, this evening, taking you through until kick-off, as ever, with former Leicester City defender Gerry Taggart. Good evening, Gerry, on this cold, wet and windy King Power Stadium evening.
Absolutely, and I'm feeling a bit more than most, Dan, seeing as I've been in Turkey all week in the sunshine. But here I am, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
And a very successful time as well you had in Turkey, by all accounts.
Well, some would say that. It's not every day you get a hole-in-one, and it was my first on a golf course, so yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. Although it did cost me a lot of money at the bar afterwards.
I'm not surprised, but congratulations, Gerry. Let's hope you bring some good luck and form back to the Foxes this evening. Obviously, taking on Aston Villa here. I mean, we were here, weren't we, at the beginning of January, previewing the game with Villa in the Carabao Cup. Obviously, the semi-final didn't go the way Leicester and Brendan Rodgers would have wanted it to. So tonight, that'll be a huge chance, I guess, for this side to get a little bit of revenge for what happened in that semi-final.
Yeah, you could say that. I think because tonight's game is that important, I don't think you can start thinking about revenge in the cup. You know, if John's formation is right, then that means that Villa have changed that formation that they played in the cup semi-final at Villa at home. Where I just thought tactically they got it absolutely spot on. So if they're going to play four at the back, then tactically, you know, they're going to do something slightly different, not 100%. You know, it's not going to be wholesale tactical changes from Dean Smith, but you have to say that I thought, well, those two wing backs and the three centre halves that Villa played in the cup competition, then, you know, tactically they got it spot on. You have to say that.
What do you make of Leicester's team? Obviously, I'd say James Justin, probably the most surprising inclusion, just from the amount of football that he has played this season.
Yeah, but, you know, the lads these days, we've seen it before, that they keep themselves mega fit even when they're not playing. I don't know how to do it, but they seem to do it. You know, Christian Fuchs springs to mind as well. When he plays, comes in and plays, it's like he's never been away. You know, for a player of his age, Christian, you know, to not have played a lot of football but to come in and do a sterling job, you know, is commendable. So I've got no issues at all with James Justin. It's obviously the lack of experience that he has and the pressurised situation that he's going to find himself in tonight. You know, that's the main concern.
He has got a little bit of experience he can draw on. Obviously, he played an awful lot of football. I know he's a youngster, but with Luton, and then this season he's had a few substitute appearances. Started at West Ham in the Premier League and in that win down at London Stadium. I guess that's something that he can look back on that day.
No, absolutely. You know, and every minute that he spends on the pitch is vital to a young player. Because the more games you play, the more experience you get, the more game knowledge you get, the more you become adept at managing a game of football. Because, you know, when people sometimes go, what are you on about managing a game of football? You know, game management is one of the most important aspects of playing at this level. And you can only learn to manage a game by playing in them and learning from your mistakes. So the more time he gets on the pitch, the better.
Well, that's probably the most striking team news from a starting point of view for Leicester City. Jamie Vardy, there's been a lot of talk about his involvement potentially tonight. Obviously, he's had that little injury niggle, hasn't he, Gerry? But he is on the bench for the Foxes this evening.
Yeah. You know, for whatever reason, you know, Brendan's decided that he is fit, but not fit to start. And again, that's probably you know, something that's born out of the modern game, where, you know, but what a player to bring off the bench. You know, your star striker to bring off the bench if need be. Hopefully that is not the case this evening.
And what a bench it is, though, for Leicester City. The likes of Gerry Taggart, Jamie Vardy, Jose Perez, Christian Fuchs, Wes Morgan. All of the names on that bench are very, very adept, very good players that you will trust at any point to come on the pitch tonight. No,
absolutely. Even like you say, you know, Mendy as well. You know, when he's played this season, he's done well. You have to say he's done well. He's fitted in well, and you know, Brendan's, you know, put a certain amount of trust in him, so that's good for him. The rest of them, you know, that you're talking about, you know, there's vast experience in that subs bench, and that could play a vital role tonight. There's no doubt about that.
How big is it that Jamie Vardy is back, though, albeit on the bench for Leicester, heading into this run-in now? I know that Leicester played last game week, obviously they're playing this one now. There was an FA Cup game in the middle, but now with 10 games to go, it really feels like this is the beginning of the end, the start of the run-in, if you like.
Yeah, and it is. And you have to agree that Leicester aren't firing on all cylinders. So when that is the case, you need all your key players fit and well, and, you know, helping the younger players out in managing these pressurised games. You know, I'm not that surprised that this sort of run of form has happened, I have to be honest with you. And I'll keep going back to the youth of the team. And sometimes that happens. But in someone like Jamie Vardy, with the experience that he has, he's been through this before with a great escape. He's been through his Leicester City, taking the great escape out of it. But even in, you know, more recent seasons gone past, where the team has had a loss of form. So it's no surprise to me really that this team has had a bit of dip in form, purely based on the lack of experience. You know, you can talk about internationals, but it's also about the lack of experience of playing you know, in this country. You know, the likes of Gerry Taggart is just gone off the ball slightly, because, well, it looks at times that, you know, the pace of the game is just, at certain stages, a little bit too much for him. So it's no surprise that he might just need to be taken out and brought back in. He's a quality player, there's no doubt about that. But even quality players suffer in this intensified cauldron that is the Premier League.
Yeah, massive game this evening at King Power Stadium at both ends of the table. Leicester hoping to go 8 points clear of 5th place to Manchester United. A win, though, for Aston Villa sees them rise out of the relegation zone. And speaking on this week's episode of Matchday -2, former City captain Steve Walsh underlined the importance of tonight's match.
This for me is a key game, and it'll just kind of, that pressure that's mounting at the moment for people who are doubting us, it'll just kill that. And, you know, I think it'll just open that door for that pathway to make it smooth.
What do you make there of what Walshy said there? Because he talked, Gerry, about the pressure that is building on Leicester City. The gap has shrunk between themselves and 5th place. So he says tonight's game is key. If they can get that win tonight, it'll just raise spirits, if you like, won't it?
Settle the nerves first, and then obviously the confidence and the spirits come within that. But we've talked about this time and time again. When would you rather play? And for whatever reason, this game couldn't have come at a worse time for me. Yeah, apart from the fact it's a night game at King Power Stadium. But with Chelsea and Man United both winning, Sheffield United winning again, then unfortunately, over the weekend, all the players can do is stare and look at that league table and realise that, tonight is an absolutely massive game, and that brings its own extra pressures with it.
It is something that we were talking about on the show and then on the City Commute, which is available, of course, via podcast providers, that looking at the results that had taken place at the weekend, it could go either way, really. If those teams in the chasing pack had all lost, then tonight's emphasis was about winning and extending the gap. But then if they all went and won, which the majority of them obviously have done this weekend, it's the opposite, isn't it? Now there's a different pressure, an added pressure that you have to win to try and maintain that gap.
Yeah, but both teams are under pressure. That's in the greater scheme of things, this game for Villa is a lot more important than it is for Leicester, because they're fighting relegation. They've had an up and down season. For Leicester, for the most part, they've had a fantastic season. In the last 5-6 games, they've lost a bit of form, but they're still sitting in a fantastic position in the league. But now you're starting to see the big boys come to the fore, starting to put runs together, starting to maximise opportunities, especially Manchester United, who, halfway through, this Premier League season, no one would put any money on them finishing the top 4, but they find themselves getting good results, closing that gap. And now it's down to Leicester to try and extend it again, and that is, sometimes it's just not as easy, and it doesn't really matter who the opposition is when it comes to this situation that Leicester find themselves in.
Well, I guess that comes on to this point then. Does it help that it's a side that's in a relegation battle, or does it go against Leicester in some ways for that? Because Villa will be scrapping for absolutely everything as well.
It doesn't help them, there's no doubt about that, because of that. Because of what you just said. Villa need points. Villa will come here tonight knowing that they can get a result. Whether that's a draw or a win, they will know that they can get a result here. It's as simple as that. They did it in the League Cup semi-final. They played a really good tactical game. And I expect that not a lot will change from that. As I've said to you before, if Villa walk out of here with a point, they'll be happy with that. That's 1 point towards safety, and that takes them 1 point to the bottom 3, and Dean Smith will know that the run in of all the other teams in and around him, plus his own run in, could well affect the outcome of their season. So tonight is vitally important for them not to lose.
I guess in some ways their approach might be similar to what it was in January when we came for the first leg of that Carabao Cup semi-final, that getting a point here, obviously in the Cup it would be just getting a good result to take to the home leg. It kind of mirrors that this evening, doesn't it?
Yeah, technically, if I was Dean Smith, I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't. Whether or not he gets the same result that he got in the first leg of the semi-final, that's immaterial, but tactically I thought he got it spot on. You could say Leicester had missed opportunities, which they did, but sometimes, circumstances that go on in the game forces you to miss gilt-edged opportunities. And so if I was him, I wouldn't really change too much. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does start with a back 4 or with 3 centre-halves.
What do you think Leicester will have learned, well, really from the semi-final, but mainly the first leg? Because, as you said, it's a similar game in that way.
I think, missed opportunities, really. I thought in both games we started well, but Villa were always in the game in both legs. I think it's important for Leicester that when they do create opportunities, and I think this is one of the issues that they have, is that their confidence in front of goal has slightly waned, Again, totally understandable. You're putting a lot of pressure on people like RV Barnes. Even your, Ian Achos and people like that, who's played second fiddle all season to Jamie Vardy, and then being asked to come into this team and carry, literally carry the team as far as the front line's concerned. It's not easy. When you know it, basically, you're second choice striker. So that has its own pressure for him now to make sure that he performs and hopefully gets on the score sheet.
It is an interesting one, the Kelechi Iheanacho one. It's a nice little subplot. He scored in all 3 of the games against Aston Villa already this season. The away game in the league, he then scored in both legs, of course, of the semi-final as well. He'd be the first player to score against the same team in a single season 4 times since Romelu Lukaku in 2014-15. He did it 4 out and against West Ham. So it's quite an achievement, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
4 games, 4 goals against one opposition.
No, absolutely. And I think his goal scoring record for Manchester City against Villa when he was pretty good as well when he played. So that'll be something for him to try and conquer tonight. Is 4-4 against Villa. So maybe a little bit of shrewd management there from Brendan Rodgers yet again. Just keeping Jamie Vardy on the bench and not rushing him back when you've got a player who's in form against a team like Aston Villa.
And I know revenge is a word you don't like to hear too much in football, because things, sometimes that word gets blown out of proportion. But is there a real feel of that, do you think? There certainly is among the fans.
Yeah.
So for you as an ex-player, does it trickle down to that level?
Revenge is probably more pertinent in a game like tonight when a team was won by default. And I don't think Villa did that in the Cup, if I'm being honest. And what I mean by default, a dodgy decision from the referee, a VAR overturning a goal, a player that should have been sent off that didn't get sent off, stuff like that. And then it ends up, the game's won by the opposition when really, and that's where the revenge element comes in. For me, tonight is not about revenge. To me, it is about trying to find one individual form and bring that into a team work ethic and a structure. And then, and how you do that is you need one person on the pitch to spark it off, to just, create a little bit of magic out of nothing. Do something that nobody's expecting them to do, or you're expecting them to do it, but you haven't seen it for 4 or 5 or 6 games. And that then just lifts the crowd, it lifts the rest of your players, it lifts the bench, the manager, the coaching staff, and that is how you get yourself out of, a mini rut, let's call it, that Leicester are in at the minute.
So in a way, is it up to one player then to take that upon themselves and take the game by the scruff of the neck?
Sometimes, I'm not saying necessarily it's down to one player, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just a spark of magic out of nowhere, and that can change your fortunes instantly. It's quite remarkable, because when things aren't happening as a whole, as a player, then it filters through the team. When somebody isn't holding the ball up, or they're giving the ball away cheaply, and confidence wanes slowly but surely. So that's why you just need that little spark from somewhere, and then the rest of the players are looking around and going, yeah, right, we've got them on the back foot, let's go and press them, let's go and really put our foot to the throttle. And it's quite amazing how things happen.
Well, let's get the view now from the Leicester City dressing room. Ben Chilwell has been assessing which of the previous Villa games this season the Foxes players are focusing on.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of forgot about the league game when we played against them and won 4-1 earlier on in the season. And we played brilliant that day. So we've kind of just got to focus on that. The League Cup is obviously massively disappointing. It would have been great to win a cup final, to reach a cup final. But I think we've just got to concentrate on the game coming up on Monday, and look at the league game when we played them a few months ago, and try and replicate that.
Well, there you go, Gerry. He says that as a group they're going to try and replicate what happened in the league, and rather than the League Cup itself.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the right way to go about it, because there's 2 separate competitions. Obviously the League Cup was over 2 legs, so it's a more tactical sort of approach. You've got 2 teams that need to win or need a result tonight. Desperate for a result tonight for 2 different reasons. and that may well take its course during this period of 90 minutes. And hopefully that tonight, any sort of replication of the away win at Villa in the league, would be most welcome by everybody here at King Power Stadium.
Because it was a commanding display, wasn't it, that Sunday?
Oh, it was immense. And I think that day Brendan played a diamond in midfield, if I'm not mistaken. And Villa just, they just couldn't live with Leicester. Whether or not Brendan does that tonight, I don't. We'll have to wait and see. But definitely that night, playing that formation was exactly the right thing to do at exactly the right time, and Villa just could not live with Leicester.
Well, let's hope Brendan Rodgers has got his tactics spot on again this evening. Wilfred Ndidi, Gerry, back in that midfield, though. We talked about Jamie Vardy being back on the bench for the run-in and how important that is. What about Wilfred Ndidi being back in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously Wilfred come back, according to Brendan, a little bit too early, and he had to take him back out again. So let's hope that he's back to full fitness and round the go, because he's definitely right up there for player of the season for me this year. Wilfred Ndidi, he's been exemplary, and another player that when he's on the pitch playing well, he's a player that everybody trusts on the pitch to do the right thing, and that in itself is a massive confidence booster. He might not have that little spark of genius that I was talking about earlier, but he knows, but everyone around him knows that they can trust him to do the right thing when he's called into action, when he's passing the ball, when he's going for a challenge.
Well, we've been talking about that game in the league in December, the fantastic 4-1 victory. Let's have a listen back to when Leicester hit Villa for 4. Hello, good afternoon everyone, welcome along to Villa Park. It's a relatively short journey from the East Midlands across to the West Midlands in the Premier League this afternoon as Aston Villa host Leicester City. He gives it away, Pratt forward now into Iheanacho, who will try and run at Mings. That would be the thing to do. Slides it forward, Vardy, in on goal, Jamie Vardy, round the goalkeeper, it's got to be, he's missed it, still Vardy, goal! Leicester City have the lead, and it just had to be, didn't it? Jamie Vardy again. Cross from the left, low in towards the near post, in for 2-0. It's touched in by Kelechi Iheanacho. 2 in 3 games for the forward, and Leicester have that second goal they craved. Maddison taking this corner from the left for Leicester, clips it high and long towards Evans at the far post. His header, it's in for 3-1. Johnny Evans, what a header! That is a quite remarkable goal. Simple in its creation, but the execution was bang on the money. All the ball over the top of Jamie Vardy. He's onside. Jamie Vardy through on goal. Vardy! That will seal it. Jamie Vardy in dreamland for Leicester City again. There isn't time to take the corner. Referee Michael Oliver blows the full-time whistle. Leicester City with another win, 8 in a row in the Premier League. They remain in second place, but Brendan Rodgers' side putting on a fantastic show here in the West Midlands today.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio. The Leicester City players have just come out for their warm-ups here for this Monday Night Football Premier League clash between Leicester City and Aston Villa. Gerry, it's early, I know, there's still well over half an hour to go until kick-off, but there's actually quite a lot of people already in King Power Stadium. I don't know whether they've got here early to avoid the weather in some way, but I think the fans probably know as much as the players and the coaching staff just how big of a game this is.
Yeah, I think everybody understands how big a game it is. I think the fans just want to see a confident Leicester playing, and that's probably what they haven't seen over the last couple of league games, is a really confident, high tempo, coherent team performance. And that's, I think, on the whole, Leicester fans would take that week in, week out. So I think that's probably the most important thing, is that the confidence is running high throughout the squad this evening, and then the rest will take care of itself invariably.
And getting that confidence back, though, I guess the win against Birmingham will certainly help a little bit with that. Just getting a winning feeling back amongst the group and the fans again?
No, absolutely. And I always ask why sometimes, having a cup competition in between league games can be a bit of a confidence booster for you. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you play and when you play, but definitely Wednesday night against Birmingham City was just the confidence boost that the players hopefully need for tonight's game.
And it's their cross-city rivals, of course, Aston Villa, that come tonight. And I guess from a Leicester point of view, the fans will say the same. I'm sure a lot of the players would do too. Just a repeat of the result, even if it is a scrappy 1-0 win.
Oh, I'll take it all day long. You take a 1-0 all day long this evening. There's no doubt about that. Villa are a decent team, and they have a goal threat going forward. So Leicester have to be wary of that. They showed that in the cup game, that they have an attacking threat, albeit sporadically. But it only takes one goal to change a game. And that's what Leicester have to be mindful for.
Well, we're just playing a bit of musical chairs here in the press box at LCFC Radio, because we've got former Leicester City defender and title winner, of course, Danny Simpson.
Legend, come on,
who joins
legend.
us on LCFC Radio's Matchday Live. Good evening, Danny.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, really good. Good to be back.
How are you enjoying Huddersfield then? Obviously, I know at the weekend it was a tough game against Leeds. They're top of the league now. It's a tough place to go. But on the whole, how's the season been?
Yeah, it's been okay. I said since I went in there, and I think since the manager took over, I think points-wise, if the league started then, I think we'd be in the top 10. But obviously, when you get 1 point from the first 10 games, it's always going to be tough. But yeah, it's going well. That's Leeds a very good team. I can see why. Well, they're going to go up for me. They're well drilled. They've been together for a few years. Yeah, fair play to them. They're a good team, and he scored the first goal. The goal he scored in the first 3 minutes. A volley in the top corner. Like,
you can't legislate.
Yeah, in the first 5 minutes, and then it's going to be tough from then on. Yeah.
Well, what about your old team then, Leicester City? You're here, of course, for the game tonight. It's turned in after the results that took place at the weekend, involving, again, another one of your former clubs, Manchester United, of course. It's turned into a very big game tonight for Leicester. It is.
It's a must-win. I was at the game yesterday, and I didn't realise it's 2 points and 5 points, I think, is it? But yeah, no, tonight's a must-win. I think just got to get back to winning ways and go on a run and try and finish strong at the end of the season.
How do you do that as players and as a group? Of course, at Leicester you went through fluctuating form, of course, where you'd win a load of games and then maybe not necessarily get a result in a few games, but it's about bouncing back, isn't it? So what's the feel at the moment, do you think, in the dressing room?
Listen, I think Vards is back, is he?
He's on the bench.
He's on the bench, yeah. So even just him being in the 18 gives everyone a lift. And there's Wilfred, and obviously we've missed Wilfred as well. So I think when the lads like that are back, and I think that's when we had the strong run, when everyone was playing and playing well. But no, I think that they're a focus group. Brendan probably will go back to basics. I think he wants them to show a bit more intensity.
Just heard the word "we" there, talking about Leicester City. Still very much in your heart.
Yeah, of course.
It's hard, isn't it, Danny?
Yeah, it is. Listen, trust me, I want to put a kit on right now and get out there.
Have you been able to chat to any of the players at all? I know obviously they'll be going through their pre-match stuff tonight, won't they? But what's the feel like? Are they confident?
Yeah, they're confident. Obviously, I still speak to some of them. I think that they know how important it is tonight. I think, especially obviously playing on a Monday night, and obviously other teams are playing first. So they're not. They know that people are chasing them, and this is it. They're still in a. I think it's 5 points from the last 20 out of 21 points, and you're still third. So yeah, no, hopefully now they've had the blip and can get back to how they was at the start of the season.
Well, I think that, Gerry, sums it up, doesn't it? That what Danny was saying there about the blip and what happened. But if any Leicester City fan was offered, beat Villa on a Monday night and you go 8 points clear of fifth with 9 games to go, absolutely every single fan would have taken.
Well, listen, you ask any ex-player where you'd like to finish in the season, and the top 4 would be a dream for the majority of them. maybe you've got 2 or 3 clubs that you would expect to be up there that aren't up there, but are now showing good late form. But for the rest of the mere mortals of players, and I'm not saying these lads are mere mortals, but if you'd have said top 4 at the beginning of the season, most people would snap your hand off, including people like me, who's never been to those heavy heights. Okay, and for everyone to have a little bit of, disenchantment around the place, or a little bit of, unhappiness, they have to really put things into perspective. This is a very, very young team, inexperienced team, and they're playing out of their skin. And sometimes we have younger players, and we're even more experienced players who aren't natural leaders on a football pitch. You are going to get a loss of form. It's just the way it goes, because as we've seen in the league table, the Chelseas, the Man Uniteds, they're starting to claw back, and that's one of the reasons why. So there's nothing to be disheartened about. It's just about, as I said to you, we need a spark from somewhere tonight. You get a spark from somewhere, it changes everything. Who it's going to be from, we're yet to find out.
That's the voice of former Leicester City defender Gerry Taggart. We've got another one alongside us here on Matchday Live in Danny Simpson. We'll hear from him in a little moment more, and we'll also hear from Brendan Rodgers, of course.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
It's breaking news. 5 people in the UK with coronavirus have now died. 319 have so far tested positive for the virus here. That's 46 more cases than yesterday. Boris Johnson says it's probable the country will soon move to the next phase of its plan to battle coronavirus.
The most important thing to get over is that whatever is happening in other countries, whatever measures are being urged upon us, be in no doubt, we are considering absolutely all of them, and in due time they may, of course, become necessary.
Meanwhile, 463 people have now died in Italy from the disease, Europe's worst hit country. Flights from there to the UK haven't been stopped, and it's understood passengers aren't routinely checked when they get here. The government's chief scientific advisor, Sir Patrick Vallance, is sceptical about the need for that.
Temperature screening in airport doesn't really have much effect. It's worth noting that those countries that instituted it very early, some of their first cases came through that screening, weren't detected in the screening and then popped up. And some of those have stopped doing it now, so that isn't an effective measure.
The index of the UK's leading shares has seen its biggest daily fall since the 2008 financial crisis. The FTSE 100 has closed down 497 points, a drop of 7.7%. It means Britain's leading companies have seen £125 billion wiped from their value today. Scotland's former First Minister Alex Salmond has lodged offences to accusations of sexual assault. He denies the allegations, including one of attempted rape, on the first day of his trial at Edinburgh's High Court. The takeover of British Steel by a Chinese firm has been completed, saving 3,200 UK jobs. The deal will see a Chinese company take over the steelworks at Scunthorpe and Teesside. And a potential threat to life alert has come into force for parts of Wales, with heavy rain forecast this evening. The Met Office amber weather warning has just started and runs until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's the latest. I'm Kit Bradshaw.
The only place you can listen to every Leicester City match online. This is LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio as we build up to Aston Villa against Leicester City here at King Power Stadium in the Premier League. I'm Dan Bates, and joining us here on Matchday Live is Gerry Taggart and Danny Simpson. Good evening, gents.
Good evening, Dan.
It was at this part of the season, Danny, I know you always, and the group that were here for the title-winning season would always love to talk about that, but it was this type of the season where you went on a run of, was it about 4 or 5 1-0 wins in a row, and is that the kind of result you think that Leicester need at the moment, just to grind out a 1-0 win?
I think so. Obviously, everyone wants to play great football, perfect football, play out from the back, score great goals, but I think just getting the 3 points, especially because of what's happened over the weekend, as I said, with Chelsea and Man United, and I think the 3 points is the most important thing at the moment. Obviously, the lads will want to play the best, but and I think the old Villa one because of what happened in the semi-final.
Yeah, we were asking Gerry a little bit before about that and about the revenge element, whether that plays too much into your minds as players.
No, it does. We were so close to getting to a final, which is what everyone wants. And probably the lads are probably disappointed in themselves that they didn't get to the final. They didn't play well. But yeah, so that will play a part of it. And again, we're seeing some great talent out here, and I think stop Jack Grealish and you've got a chance.
Yeah, I think, Gerry, from an Aston Villa point of view, he is obviously the danger man, isn't he, Jack Grealish? As Danny says, if you stop him, you stop Aston Villa.
He's a top player. He's going to get you up the pitch no matter what, Jack Grealish, because he's either going to buy you a free kick in the final third, and then his delivery's quality, or he's going to do a little bit of jiggery-pokery, a little bit of magic. It's how you eventually stop what he brings to the table. And that's, again, that comes from your experienced players who are on the pitch, and obviously your manager and coaching staff earmark him where he is going to actually cause the most damage against Leicester City tonight. So, but again, for me, it's about a scrappy 1-0. You look at Liverpool, who are run away with a title. They're not exactly playing free-flowing, attractive football at the minute, are they? But they still just keep grinding out results, just grinding until they get over that line. And tonight is one of those nights where, it's about outworking, outperforming, outmuscling, doing whatever you can to get 3 points on the board, and not worry too much about, obviously the style of football that Brendan, has brought to this team.
From a Jack Grealish point of view, and how Leicester look to stop him, Danny, is it putting Wilfred and Ndidi on him as a man-marking job, or is it more just about closing the spaces in and around him?
I think everyone will have to be aware of him. I don't think it's a specific, like for example, for Wilfred, because he roams around as well, doesn't he? And he drifts around, and everything comes through him. So I think everyone will have to be wary of him and close him down and not let him have as much space. And obviously, for me, the way he drives with the ball and how powerful he is. But no, they'll be aware of that, and I just like the little battle that everyone keeps going about with Maddison and Grealish, and with the England situation. For me, I'd love to see them both play together. Yeah. I think they complement each other so well, for England, for example. But yeah, I think stop Jack tonight, and it's everyone's job.
I think that's one of the keys, actually, Danny's just hit on, is, as I said, he's going to get you up the pitch, but it's how quickly you get out and get close enough to him to stop causing those, causing dangerous opportunities, goal-scoring opportunities. We've seen the cross for the last goal. I can't remember who crossed it in the second leg of the cup.
El Mohammadi.
El Mohammadi, but he had time and space to pick that cross out. And if there's one quality that El Mohammadi's got, it's from wide areas. His crossing's always been fantastic, and it was the amount of time and space he was given. You knew something was going to happen. So I think that's a key role when you're trying to stop someone like Jack Grealish. Yes, we know he's going to get on the ball. Yes, we know he's going to find space, and he's going to get high up the pitch. But it's what you do after that really matters.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating battle, as you said, Danny, between James Maddison and Jack Grealish from an England point of view. But they are different players, though, in a sense, aren't they? You look at Maddison and he's a little bit more attacking, whereas Grealish likes to drop deep and drive with the ball from deeper positions.
Yeah, like obviously with Madders, how good he is in finding pockets of space, getting on that half turn. I think the way when he receives the ball in his first touch, is to turn straight at the defence. And Jack, his main strength is running with the ball, and that power that he shows and pace. But yeah, they're completely, for me, they're different players, and so yeah, I just want to touch as well before. I know with Jack and with Brendan, and it's everyone's job, and I know what Brendan's like about intensity and closing people down. So he'll be saying to everyone tonight, he wants to see that where the ball is. I know what he wants. He wants to win it back as quick as he can.
Just on a defensive point of view, James Justin starts for Leicester City tonight, only his second Premier League start, so it's a big evening for him, of course.
Yeah, it is, but yeah, no, what we're in now, 6 months into the season, he's been with the team a lot now, and when he's played in the cup games, he's looked good, and I think might have played for the last time at left back. Did he come on, I think, at left back?
Yeah.
But no, he's a good player, and it's a great opportunity for him tonight and on a Monday night. And I believe Christian's on the bench, so for Brendan to put him at left back, he's obviously seen something, a lot from him this week in training.
But he'll have someone next to him in Johnny Evans, won't he? Obviously, has so much experience. Someone you know very well, of course.
Oh, Johnny's superb.
He would be though, wouldn't he?
No, Johnny's been, what did we sign him for? 3 million. Oh, he's been
ridiculous.
Yeah, I do a lot of United stuff, and they'd have him. Don't know why they let him go. But now for me, he's been class since he's come in. And I think when he first signed, he had a little shaky time at the start. People were actually questioning him. But now you're seeing it week in, week out, and obviously the man next to him is all Cag. I love him to bits. He's a top lad. And
What's he like?
No, honestly, yeah, he's brilliant. Last season was frustrating for him, but in a weird way it probably helped him because he had a year to settle in and get used to the team and everything, and it was perfect now how he leaves and he steps in. But now he's a top lad, and like I said, I'm just glad to see that they're doing well. Yeah,
Gerry, as a former centre-half, you've been very impressed, haven't you, with Johnny and Cag?
Well, yeah, it's a great partnership. Because Johnny, as Danny says, he's just got a wealth of experience. He can still get round the pitch. He can play football with their foot. Yeah. And probably the most important thing, he's a communicator. Yeah. So he tells people, and he'll tell Soyuncu, don't stand there, get closer to me, get closer to your fullback.
He'll let you know.
He lets you know, big time. And in Soyuncu, he's just a hungry young footballer, is desperate to do well. And it's a great combination, because Johnny just sits back, rolls that big cigar out of his top pocket, lights it, and it's, Kagler Soyuncu go and do all the graft. Great combination.
Well, Danny, thank you very much for coming on LCFC Radio's Matchday Live. I'll leave you with the trickiest question of the lot. If you give us a bit of a prediction, how do you see it going tonight?
I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester. I think Jack will cause some problems, and I think Villa need points, so they're going to have a go. So I think they'll nick one, but I think they'll win 2-1. Vard will come on and we'll win 2-1.
Thank you very much, Danny. Let's hope you're correct. Really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck with Huddersfield for the rest of the season.
Cheers, Danny.
Cheers.
Right, let's get the thoughts then of Aston Villa manager Dean Smith. He's been looking back on the 3 previous games between Villa and Leicester this season.
Yeah, we know each other very well. We've played each other 3 times. Obviously they beat us 4-1 in the league at Villa Park, and we'd had a couple of chances to take the lead in that game before Tyrone got injured, and they exposed us when Tyrone had the hamstring injury. And then we went there, had to put up a good defensive display and came away with a 1-1 draw, and then managed to beat them at the death at Villa Park. So we know on our day that we can more than match them, but they're in 3rd place in the league for the reason. Brendan's done a fantastic job, but we've got a great belief in ourselves that we can go and beat any of the last 11 teams who we've got to play. We only have to look at the results from last weekend in the Premier League to know that all teams are beatable.
Voice there of Dean Smith. Aston Villa manager confident that they can get the results they need in the last 11 games to stay in the Premier League. Welcome back to LCFC Radio's Matchday Live. I'm Dan Bates. Gerry Taggart joins me now. We had Danny Simpson here, was with us, wasn't he? And what a fantastic lad he is. And it's clear that he has so much love still for Leicester City.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to, isn't it, when you've had the success that he's had at this football club, and the fans took to him straight away. And what I always put, everyone goes on about the title winning season, and I think people like Danny Simpson, your Mark Albrightons and people like that sort of miss out on the plaudits more than, say, your Mahrez and Bardies, because they were the ones that scored and created all the goals. But without people like Christian Fuchs, Robert Hoof, another one, like, how good was he that season? But Simpson, phenomenal.
In a way, the likes of Mark Albrighton and Danny Simpson embodied that Leicester team.
Oh, without a doubt, because they did exactly what it says on the tin, and that enabled all the Fleur players to go and play. You know, you could put N'Golo Kante in that bracket as well, although obviously he's world class. But it give the rest of the players the platform, like your Danny Drinkwaters, who's on the bench for Villa tonight, Riyad Mahrez's, and Jamie Vardy's, to go and play their natural game. They knew they had that assurance behind them that when the ball did break down and go to the opposition, they could trust him. And Danny Simpson, for me, was integral to that. No one defends a back post better than Danny Simpson in the modern era. And it's a lost art for him that he didn't lose. You know, it's as simple as that. And that's it's a part of the game people don't look at, is defending back posts. And one-on-ones as well. It's a part of the game that people don't work on. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why Leicester won the league that season.
It was great that he said he still wants to get his kid and going out there and play. It's clear that the love that, as you said, that if they had such a successful season as they did, Leicester will always be in the hearts of every single one of those players that were involved in that. But Danny in particular, because he was such an integral member of the team, but like you said, didn't probably get the plaudits that the others did.
Oh, absolutely, and defenders invariably don't. You know, it's all about creators and scorers of goals. But if you want, from an educated eye, if you want to call me, if you want to say I've got that, then, you know, there's two sides to a football team. You know, there's the ones that build a platform and stay structured and strong, and then obviously you have your flair players, and you can't have one without the other. So, in my opinion, I don't see why the plaudits should be any different.
The Leicester players have just headed down the tunnel now for their final words from Brendan Rodgers. So we'll hear as well from the man himself. He's been assessing the current situation.
We're sat in a, fantastic position at this stage of the season. I think because of the level of consistency, how the players have worked and played over the course of this season, and we've had a little bit of a blip going back for a few games. But like I say, I get much better feeling for the team the other night in the cup game. Some are back to the intensity and the commitment and the pressure that we've had in games. So, and I know it's only a matter of time before they'll go back to being consistent again.
What do you think Brendan's saying to the players right now, Gerry?
Tempo, play with confidence, play with freedom, play with structure. Tempo in your game. If that has probably been one of the clearest things that we've seen Leicester not have it over these last current run of games, where they've not lost away but not picked up the results they would have wanted to or expected to. Just need a bit more tempo in the game and play with that confidence and freedom and structure like you have been doing.
Was that little blip in form that they had and the fact that the tempo maybe wasn't at the levels that it was earlier in the season, was that a little bit to be expected because of A, the youthfulness in the squad, and B, just how ferocious they were at the beginning of the season? There was bound to be a little bit of a lull at some point.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to play a season when, again, I always go, inexperience is having miles in your legs and knowing how to deal with keeping that tempo for a full 90 minutes. And that's where game management comes into it. It's about decision making and game management. And you have to say that some of these players don't have that. And so then you start to see a little drop off in performances and tempo because of it. But it's very, very difficult to play at that tempo, for a full season. And only when you get those miles in your legs and when you get that game management and to a certain degree self-education, because a manager can only educate you so much. The rest is down to you playing against an opponent. And that's where you I would say you probably get the majority of it. So again, you have to take all these factors into consideration when you talk about the blip.
So that's where yet again the experience that's in this group is absolutely vital.
Absolutely, because like I say, Johnny Evans is one of those players. Connie said he'll let you know, and he has to let the other players on the pitch know as well. when they're not doing things right. He's almost like a coach on the pitch, Johnny Evans. You know, so people like him, people like Casper, people like Vardy, and people like Wilfred Ndidi, Ricardo, vital.
Right, let's hear one more time then from Brendan Rodgers ahead of kick-off. He was asked if he's out for revenge against Villa for what happened in the cup.
No. We played very well in the league game. The two cup games, our performance level was okay, but we just didn't do enough to win. And Aston Villa, they got through, deserved to be in the final. So we get no complaints. But we're into our last 10 games of the season now. Everyone's clear and in our purpose now. So it's just one game at a time and put everything into the game. So that's Aston Villa, and we want to get the 3 points.
I guess Brendan Rodgers could just sign his pre-match team talk off with you win, you're 8 points clear of 5th place, and you're really going to give yourself a great chance of finishing in those Champions League places.
I think that's more important, you know, focusing on that or not focusing on that, or taking the pressure away from the players who are over-focusing on the league table. You know, it's about regaining form. It's about regaining momentum, regaining a bit of confidence. They've got a bit of that back against Birmingham in the cup, and now they have to, you know, they've got the ball in their hands now. Now they've got to start running with it. You know, and if they do that, then hopefully we'll see a win tonight.
We saw a great start in that game against Manchester City. I know the result didn't go Leicester's way. You could argue potentially they could have had at least one penalty that evening. They played well. It was then a very, very late goal from Gabriel Jesus, but Leicester started that game well, didn't they? And it's about starting the game tonight just as well as they did there, and you're playing against, let's be honest, inferior opposition.
Yeah, you know, again, when the big boys come to town, there's never an issue. You know, with, you know, starting the game or lasting the game or trying your best to do well. But sometimes in pressurised games, you could almost say that the game against Man City was, I'm not saying they couldn't gain anything, but they definitely didn't lose anything. That's not the game where they lost momentum for me. Tonight is a totally different game as far as, you know, the tactics, what's at stake, what are Villa going to come and do? We all know how Man City play, so there's no surprise there. It's about matching them, stopping them, and then, you know, taking your chances when they come along. But tonight's a totally different animal, because we don't know what Villa are going to do. Well, we have some idea what Villa are going to do, but we're not fully sure because we're expected to beat them. And Aston Villa know that we're expected to beat them. So the pressure and the onus is on Leicester to make sure that happens.
I guess, though, we're talking about the revenge aspect for Leicester from a Villa point of view. Their players will be saying to each other in the dressing room right now, last 2 times we played them, we beat them and we got a result here.
Correct. And as I said to you before, they'll take a draw tonight away from home. You know, there'll be other teams in the league that they'll go away from home. And let's be honest, Villa's away form hasn't been that bad this season. You know, their away form's been pretty decent. So there'll be other games down the road where they will earmark when they're playing away from home to try and pick up maximum points. A draw tonight is good for Villa. Leicester, for me, well, we want to win, we need a win. Let's get one.
Right, the teams are in the tunnel here at King Power Stadium ahead of kick-off for this Monday night football game between Leicester City and Aston Villa. A reminder, if you're listening in on social media, the feeds will stop just before kick-off. So all you need to do is head to lcfc.com/radio to hear all the action. Right, let's hand you over to your commentary team then of Gerry Taggart and John Dunn.
Madison, oh, that is absolutely brilliant! And it's a beauty. Jamie Vardy again for Leicester City. He's up and running. What a fantastic goal!
Touch, back of the net.
Come on. There's a somersault to celebrate with the travelling Blue Army.
All the games, all the goals and all the big moments. You're listening to LCFC Radio.
It's a Monday night Midlands derby under the lights of King Power Stadium, with East meeting West as Leicester City take on Aston Villa in a Premier League clash that sees third top Foxes come up against the second bottom villains as the two teams meet for the fourth time this season. 10 games now remain for Leicester City. They know a win tonight would see them move closer towards Manchester City. They would be just 4 points behind the second place side, and a win would also see them move 8 points clear of the fifth spots in the Premier League as the Foxes home in on Champions League football. For the Villa at the opposite end of the table, they start this evening's clash just 1 point clear of the drop zone, or they would be 1 point clear of the drop zone if they can manage a shot victory here at King Power Stadium. They currently sit second bottom coming into this evening's clash. We've had the normal pre-match routine. The Birch has given the Foxes fans the rallying call. He says if you want to hear that famous anthem next season, it's time to get behind the side this evening. And then we've seen some iconic images flash through the big screens at either end of the stadium, finishing with that trophy lift that never fails to send a shiver down the spine of the Blue Foxes, or the Blue Army, the Foxes fans who have gathered in King Power Stadium this evening. Another sellout, that goes without saying, for these loyal Leicester City supporters. For the fourth time in 4 months, Leicester City take the field against Aston Villa, and despite honours being equal with both teams gaining a win and sharing a draw in the previous 3 matches, it's the Foxes who have a score to settle following Villa's aggregate League Cup semi-final win in January. For the second time in less than a week, it's West Midlands opposition arriving at King Power Stadium after seeing off Villa's closest rivals Birmingham City in the FA Cup last Wednesday. The Foxes are looking for a victory against the Villa in the Premier League, and with 10 Premier League games remaining for Brendan Rodgers' side as they head into the final straight, they are aiming for that top 4 finish. Aston Villa arrive with just 1 win in their previous 10 visits against the Foxes, and they have the worst defence in the Premier League. The Foxes are unbeaten in the last 4 league games between the two Midlands rivals ahead of this Monday night football. Both teams' last outings were both in cup competition. For the Foxes, it was that 1-0 win here against Birmingham City last week, and there are 2 changes to that starting 11, including a start for James Justin, his first Premier League action of 2020. He's in for the injured Ben Chilwell. Harvey Barnes is back in the starting 11. He replaces Damari Gray. Jamie Vardy is fit but only makes the bench. It means Kelechi Iheanacho starts with the Foxes. He scored 6 goals in 6 games against Aston Villa throughout his career. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, making his 200th Premier League appearance. Mark Albrighton, formerly of Villa, also in the starting 11 for the Foxes. That sees Schmeichel in goal, and a familiar looking back four of Ricardo Evans Soyuncu. Joining them is Justin. Indeed, in front of that back four, and then it's Albrighton, Pratt, Maddison and Barnes with Iheanacho up front. 2 changes as well for Aston Villa. Their last game was the League Cup final, the 2-1 defeat against Manchester City. Oyland Nyland, the goalkeeper, so impressive in the 2 games against Leicester in the League Cup, dropped to the bench. He's preferred to Pepe Reina. Anwel El Ghazi drops out. Conor Hourihane comes in, and former Fox Danny Drinkwater is amongst the substitutes. Pepe Reina then in goal. Villa seem to have been sticking to a back four that they used in that League Cup final, despite using a back 3 in the 2 semi-finals against the Foxes. Gilbert, Engels, Mings and Target are the back four, with Hourihane, Louise and Nakamba in midfield, Grealish, Samatta and El Mohammadi acting as a front 3. The final rallying call. More iconic images appearing on the big screens.